Hello, and welcome back to Hold On I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and you are listening to our review of UFC 283 Teixeira versus Hill from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, with a co-main event of Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. And Tom, we're a bit late on the podcast this week, and I apologise to listeners for that, but I will point out that every time I win the predictions game, Tom is not that keen to record. And case in point again, he's bottled it. He doesn't want to come on. He doesn't want to acknowledge me as the champ. I'm the champ, Tom. How does that feel?
Joe, you've got me. Got me red-handed. I've been blaming everything I can to avoid conceding.
Yeah.
It really made you this title fight. That's where your prediction stood out.
Yeah.
Didn't go exactly as you thought it would, but it certainly didn't go as I was hoping it would.
No, I mean, also my reasoning of it would be funny is definitely not what happened in the end. So we'll get into that right now, listeners. The main event of UFC 283, Jamhal Hill wins. Sorry, we were made fun of for this. Jamhal Hill wins the vacant light heavyweight title from Glover Teixiera, and we'll talk about the performance first, and then we'll get into the bigger picture of where this stands in terms of light heavyweight. But simply put, this is as pure an ass-kicking as you are going to see at this level of the UFC. Agree or disagree?
Agree. And Glover's kind of track record and time in the sport allowed him to take this arse whipping. I think if this was earlier on in the card, if this wasn't Glover in Brazil at 43, it would have been stopped sooner. If it wasn't a man whose strategy is to kind of step through that fire, to take a beating, to lull the opponent into into a stupor when they punched his big skull so many times that they just can't take it anymore and succumb to a takedown. That's what Glover does. Slowly, gets on top, but that never looked likely here. I was all for the fight being stopped before we got to the end of the fifth round.
Yeah, it was the fourth round was really the one, and John Hackleman, Chuck Liddell's longtime trainer, Glover Teixeira's longtime trainer. I mean, that's where Glover got his start, was training with Chuck in America, and Hackleman's had a long partnership and career with him. Hackleman was calling for this to be stopped. I mean, Hackleman has a history of doing this, and it's kind of almost become his thing, along with like the likes of Trevor Whitman. And Hackleman even said, "This is the last time I'm ever going to corner. I'm not going to corner again after this. I did it for Glover. I wanted to save him, and I couldn't." I will say though, that fifth round, all things considered, if you're going to let a guy go back out there, that's about as good as a guy can do in terms of an ass kicking. It was pretty impressive from Glover, that fifth round. I mean, I'll just give you my score straight up. I gave Hill all 5 rounds. I didn't give any 10-8s, but I was close. I was close on the third, I believe, where just Glover was so short of ideas. But we'll go through this round by round now. We'll start off with the round one where Hill, Glover couldn't get anything going with the takedown attacks, I should say. He'd get into the position and then just couldn't get to the next stage, couldn't get close, couldn't push through. And then Hill, his knees in the takedown defense range was superb, I thought. Really sapped him of any energy.
Yeah, Glover really paid for those attempts, if you can call them that. He never really kind of locked arms together, never was able to drive through any takedowns, really. 0 for 7 in round one. And Hill was lighting him up, as you say, with the knees. It
was like he could get to him, but he couldn't commit to him because of what Hill was doing as well, if that makes sense. Like, he's got his hands to the leg and he got one leg up, but like Hill, what he was able to do meant that Glover couldn't push through, basically.
Yeah, I can't recall a moment in the first round where I thought Glover was going to take him down.
Yeah.
And that really speaks to Hill's defense, but also, Glover, I don't know, he was lacking a little bit of explosion. I did feel like he looked like
a 43-year-old
man.
Yeah.
43-year-old man.
Yeah. That's something that maybe we kind of looked over, is that he is 43 and that a 43-year-old fighter doesn't normally get to do this, particularly in MMA. Sometimes in boxing you get the freaks, Bernard Hopkins winning a title in his mid-40s, etc., etc. But yeah, this surely was the correct, natural thing to have happened.
Absolutely, and I truly believe Glover is a clean athlete, so he's not able to compensate for that decline. But yeah, I mean, of course, when we saw the fight against Prochazka, Glover did not look any bit the old man that he did in this fight. Now, it's hard to say that time caught up with him just, in these short intervening months since the Prochazka fight. But, of course, that could be a factor. I think really the praise should go to Hill. Who, I mean, it was a masterclass, Joe. I don't know if there are things you wanted to pick out of round two.
He was just so utterly dominant. The left head kick from southpaw was the prevalent thing of the whole fight, and apparently Hill came up with that in the fight. It wasn't game planned at all. Now, whether that's just smoke and mirrors, and he's trying to just set out a warning to these guys who are going like, "Don't mess with me, because I'll figure you out in there." But if he game planned it, superb, and if he came up with it, also superb. It was an absolutely superb performance. That was where Glover got one takedown in that round as well. But Hill straight back up, no messing. He just leveled up in ways that we hadn't really considered, I don't think.
No, I mean, he really surprised me, Joe. Really. It's just so hard to gauge. It was so one-sided. But I particularly did love the switching of stances. He looked very comfortable out of both positions. But at the same time, he wasn't getting much back from the other side.
No.
I don't know. I think there are fighters in that light heavyweight division who will punish you for switching stances at will like that. It became quite predictable.
For sure.
For me. But Glover wasn't able to adapt.
And also, Hill's leaning. Like, he leant away from the strikes. He leant away from those, like... I mean, he didn't really have much of an effort, did he, Glover? He couldn't really get much going there.
Well, as Hill is kind of leaning away, obviously controlling the distance, he's just inviting Glover into that range where he's going to hurt him, he's going to punish him. Yeah. Glover has a habit anyway of kind of bull rushing head first towards opponents, reaching. When he wants to land his big hook, he has to step forward into that, and of course that then opened up the uppercuts for Hill, which were pretty notable as well. It was
round 3 where he really unloaded that uppercuts on Glover. So again, it was almost like revealing more of his offense as he kept going. Like he wasn't breaking that out early. He was waiting for that to happen.
Also, when he saw what was coming back to him from Glover, and he just realised, okay, I'm going to start taking this guy apart. Yeah. I feel free to do that.
Yeah.
This threat is not growing. I know what it is, and now I'm going to show you what I can do.
Let's talk about round 5. So round 4, Glover's just beating up. The cuts are horrendous. Go on, Tom.
It's a 10-8 for me, by the way, Joe.
Round 3?
Round 4.
Oh, round 4?
Yeah, round 3 and 4, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
he really teed off on that 4th, didn't he?
In round 4, you're talking about 79 significant strikes versus 18.
Yeah.
You're talking about Glover with substantial cuts in multiple places, particularly the one on the brow. I was ready for the fight to be stopped. It was a 10-8 for me.
Fair enough. Round 5, Glover comes back, and that was the thing, is that he got the takedown. He got that Hail Mary takedown. He did it, and you're like, oh my God, can Glover do it? And it was fascinating as well, because he went to side control, and obviously if you're in side control, you have to release your arms to unleash any sort of ground and pound, which then gives them a release. So Glover went back to half guard because he couldn't get the mount, so he went back to half guard and then tried to start working from there. But then that allowed Hill to use his legs to then sweep the position, turn it back round, and he finished the fight on his terms from there. I mean, maybe that says something about Glover. He's clearly lost a 5-round fight. 10 seconds to go, and he's trying to wave Hill on, like, come on. And it's just like, yeah, all right, he's obviously trying to invite the firefight that's not going to be there. But maybe we can look into that, just like, this guy is an absolute dog and he just wants to keep going to the very end. let's talk about now. Post-fight, Glover retires. Jamhal Hill cuts a teary promo. And it feels like an end of an era of such, doesn't it? And the start of something new. I'm not saying the Machida era starts now or anything like that. But we've sort of like said goodbye to the last of a certain era of Brazilian fighter. You know, you had your first ones of Royce, Walid Ismail, those sorts of like pioneers of the Brazilian scene. Then you had, you know, Ricardo Hirona, Shogun, Vanderlei. Glover was kind of at the end of that sort of era, going into the new one, and it feels like, I don't know, a link to the past is sort of closed now with Glover retiring.
Yeah, I mean, Glover's definitely the last man standing who's still at the cutting edge, who's still at the elite from that era. So, undoubtedly so. We are bidding farewell to it. And, yeah, I mean, you have to credit Glover for going this long, as we have done previously. You know, we're big fans of Glover here on the pod. You have to look back at that run through Blachowicz, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, Krylov, Kutelaba, and Roberson. You have to acknowledge that, you know, he did ride his luck, shall we say, in a few of those fights. Particularly, I mean, we started off with Carl Roberson. He definitely rocked in that fight. We remember he had some trouble with Anthony Smith too.
Smith was teeing off on him. And then just Glover just kept going. Glover is just a great example of a guy who just lives the lifestyle, lives the work, and just continually just got better over time until, you know, his window of opportunity was closing. And it was like, here's my chance. I've got to push. I've got to take it. And he did. And it's...
Glover Teixeira breaks through at 42.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As the call from Anik goes, it's just a wonderful moment. But let's talk about the future. Let's talk about Jamhal Hill. To me, there's obviously the looming figure of Prochazka. However, I will say that if we're going to go by the timeline that we've been told, that Prochazka won't be back until September, October time, I think Hill should get another title fight in before that. And to me, there's only one man that should be in there, and that's Magomed Ankalaev.
Okay, Joe, you said it with such certainty that I almost expected a call out for Alex Pereira.
Oh, right. No. Pereira Adesanya. Pereira has said he wants to face Hill for the title because he's just like, oh, I can beat this guy. That's what I can beat this guy. But Pereira has also said, I'm going to get ready. If Izzy's not ready, I'll face Whittaker. Which is like, oh, I love that sort of talk. I love it. But I think Pereira will be there maybe by the end of the year, depending on what happens with Prochazka, what happens with who wins, and from there.
Well, Joe, I'm not complaining about any of these outcomes. They all sound like great fights. Pereira mentioned Jamhal Hill, and I definitely got my attention. But if we're going to keep it in the light heavyweight division, we know that Ankalaev beat Blachowicz.
Yeah,
we know.
Yeah, we know. What that one judge was like, it's a draw. Just kind of like, you lot figure it out. You screwed him. You utterly screwed him. Like, he won that fight.
You did. I mean, because, like, I do side with the UFC in a bit, in that it is also, there is a show element of performance. Personalities matter. The way that you win does matter. I wouldn't be devastated if Ankalaev had to get another victory.
Yeah.
For me,
yeah.
I very much understand why he would be aggrieved at that, and why, you know, people who are more inclined to respecting the kind of hierarchy of the rankings and you know, the bean counters out there,
right?
They all want to see Ankalaev in there. For me, I'm all right if it's not the next one. Probably should be. The thing is, if it's not Ankalaev, there really isn't another candidate in the light heavyweight division who deserves a shot.
No. Blachowicz isn't there. Anthony Smith's not there. Rakic is coming back from an injury. Krylov's not there. Walker is not there. But
I'll say Rakic. One big win, and Rakic should be in the picture too.
Sure. Prochazka's the obvious one, though, isn't it? Just like the champ who never lost the belt. I mean, Hill versus Prochazka would be... Whew, man, that'll be fireworks if and when that happens.
if Ankalaev gets to fight Hill, Joe, I don't think we're going to get to see Prochazka versus Hill.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Wow. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That leaning back that he did against Glover, yeah, that's going to get punished against Ankalaev. And yeah, I think Ankalaev will have learned something from that Blachowicz fight. Now, let's talk about the co-main event. A conclusion, an emphatic one, to the flyweight quadrilogy between Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Figueiredo came in as the champ. Moreno is the interim champ. They're unified, and simply put, Moreno whooped him. It was dominant. Took Figueiredo down at will. There's some nice scrambles. I actually thought Figgy did very well in the first round, but after that, just there wasn't much there for Moreno to worry about. Dominated him with the wrestling, and then the finish was superb. Brilliant TKO. Stopped in between rounds because Figueiredo's eye had closed. Nothing dirty about it. A tremendous punch from Moreno to get the finish, because it wasn't competitive up to then, and I actually felt that rounds 4 and 5 was probably going to get even worse for Figueiredo.
Well, certainly looking out of just one eye, no complaints at all about the stoppage. That was nasty, Joe. That was nasty. His eye closed up entirely. It did hinge on that one punch from Moreno. The debate about whether it had been a poke or whether it happened after the punch, but yeah, I think the replay showed he turned his fist in. It's
a gazelle punch. Marvin Hagler used to do it, but the thing is that unlike this, where the guy is backing away and he's leaping across, Hagler would do it to intercept, and it would be this kind of like whipping punch that you get around from there. But yeah, I thought Moreno.
So kind of like a check hook, you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. It's the Hagler version is, whereas this is more like it's closer to like a straight punch of sorts. But yeah, tremendous performance from Moreno, and these guys have clearly gotten a lot better with each other. But Moreno has kicked on to another level, and I actually almost feel a bit bad for Figueiredo, because he's faced this guy. It's the only 2 losses on his record. It's the only draw on his record. 21 wins otherwise. Sorry, no. 2 out of his 3 losses are to this guy. Sorry, my mistake. I just felt like maybe if he'd fought someone else, maybe he would have been more ready for him in a way, if that makes sense. He wouldn't have had this sort of like, I've got to face this guy again. Moreno was constantly chasing him, really. Like, even in that trilogy, it was like, I have to put this guy away again.
100%. I mean, who was Brandon Moreno before he fought Figueiredo for the first time? Yeah. I think there were question marks even about him getting that shot to start off with. He came from absolutely nothing and made himself because of the draw that never was. Yeah. Great fight, but if it's not a draw, it's probably not made again. No. Who knows how Moreno deals with the competition below him? What is true, though, Joe, is that he has grown to be quite a big figure now in flyweight, and with that win over Kai Kara-France in the intervening kind of moment when he wasn't fighting Figueiredo, he's on top of the hill. It looks great, and let's be honest, if they did make a 5th fight, God, please don't let that ever happen, but we're both picking Brandon Moreno. For sure.
Figueiredo said he's moving up to bantamweight, and man, bantamweight when you're 35 years old and you're small for the division, I mean, I'm just going to read again. I'm going to do the bantamweight list, Tom. The list, it always sounds so good, doesn't it? But any of these guys, who does Figueiredo beat out of this? Of Saeed Nurmagomedov, Umar Nurmagomedov, Pedro Munoz, Chris Gutierrez, Ricky Simone, Song Yadong, Dominic Cruz, Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen, Marlon Vera, Merab Dovashvili, Piotr Jan, Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling.
I mean, Dom Cruz.
Dom Cruz is the name that popped out to me.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, bro, Figueiredo versus Song Yadong. Oh, man, that could be a lot of fun.
That sounds great.
But, like, I'm having to go down to, like, Adrian Yanez, like, God, like, there's nothing good waiting for him there, I don't think.
I would struggle to pick Figueiredo in that matchup against Yanez.
No, I wouldn't. For Moreno, it's clear, the guy who's beaten him twice, no, is it twice or 3 times? He's beaten him twice now. Alexander Pantoja, once on The Ultimate Fighter, once in the UFC proper. This is the only matchup to make, isn't it?
It should be signed and sealed already. Obviously, Pantoja on his own 3-fight run. His last loss was to Askarov, who's who's left the UFC now, and before that was Figueiredo. Beat, as you say, Moreno back in 2018. That was a different Brandon Moreno, it would seem, but let's find out.
Let's find out, indeed. Book it for what? May, June? This would be quite something if we could get that done.
ASAP, Joe. I mean, Moreno should capitalise on this, and,
Can I also point something out now? We have 4 title fights booked now. Hold on. We will have had 4 title fights within the first quarter of this year involving Mexican fighters. Now think about where Mexican MMA was, 5-10 years ago? Nowhere near to this. The other one being Yair Rodriguez for an interim title against Josh Emmett, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko, and Irene Aldana against Amanda Nunes. You could have 4 Mexican champions.
I don't think that's going to happen, Joe. But
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but it's a sleeping giant. Mexico, not a natural home for mixed martial arts, perhaps, but certainly for combat sports in general.
For sure.
Yeah, the sport is richer for it.
If we're thinking about the most passionate fans when it comes to combat sports as well, Mexico, United Kingdom. What else is even on that level of those two? When it comes to when you have big boxing matchups, like you saw it with that Liam Smith Chris Eubank Jr. fight, where the crowd was ravenous for this, and it's not even on a world title level. Just 2 British names going at it. It's the same thing with Mexico. What other countries am I missing?
Well, I think it's a quick note for the crowd here, Joe, in Brazil. It's a bit of a low note. Yeah. I don't know what was going on, but it was. The arena was empty. On the early prelims, there was nobody in that crowd. No. By the time the main card rolled around, I think we were up to, I don't know the official statistics here, but just from looking, 60% maybe, something like that.
It didn't look a sellout.
Couldn't hear the crowd outside of the jeering and the whistling and the "you're gonna die" chants.
Yeah.
And the sound of rubbish hitting the floor after Moreno stepped out as the champ. So, yeah, not really feeling that crowd.
No, I always feel like you don't deserve another card now for a few years as punishment. Let's get to Mexico. Oh, man, a Mexican crowd. Moreno coming out to some Mexican music. That crowd going mad. Oh, yeah, son. Anyway, let's talk about the featured fight on this card. Gilbert Burns smashes Neil Magny. Head and arm choke. No strikes absorbed from Gilbert Burns. Magny couldn't get anything going. And really, Gatekeeper was shown that he is not anywhere near the other gate, which Burns is prowling behind. What are we doing here? This felt like a bit of a wasted opportunity. And I love Gilbert Burns calling out for Colby Covington, because it would be stonking fight. And if Covington could beat Burns, that would easily be the best win of his career.
I don't know if he'd get the credit for it. That's just the thing. Burns he's a killer, as he's proved again here. He's drawn a big line in the sand where it's like, look, you fools are way back over there. Yeah. You ain't crossing this. I'm in the top tier. We knew it already, but he took the assignment begrudgingly, and Neil Magny felt his displeasure with being matched up with someone past that line in the sand, because Burns absolutely ran through him. It was flawless. Yeah. Flawless performance. Couldn't do any more with the matchup, Burns. Magny has been a tricky opponent for many.
Yeah.
Burns,
many fall to Magny. There's no shame in losing to a Neil Magny, because
in a Magny fight, Joe, you get caught in a grappling exchange, in the clinch. There are limbs everywhere. Yeah.
Why am I bleeding? Why can I taste blood? What's going on here?
It's a mess, Joe. He's a very hard man to deal with, a very hard man to find the range against. But Burns just absolutely controlled him. He dominated him.
Can I just tell you, Neil Magny's record in the UFC is 20 wins and 9 losses. That is superb. That's a superb record. And
he's the sorting machine, Joe.
Yeah.
You progress to greatness. You are never seen on a main card again.
Yeah, exactly. There is, the name that I always bring up in terms of the looming figure of welterweight is Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't think Burns should be given that assignment. I mean, I know Rachmanov has got Jeff Neal booked for March. Perfect fight, I think. Not for Jeff Neal, but for Shavkat Rachmanov, that is a perfect fight. That's going to be on the Jones-Garn card, so that'll be, I mean, perfect placement for him to break out from there. Yeah, just really excellent performance. I mean, Burns, it's Covington should be the fight, right? Like, that's what we should be looking for.
Now, just to go back onto the Burns-Bilal Muhammad beef that we started on the preview pod, both exchanging shots over their respective places in the rankings. Burns went out and put Magny away like he did. Was that enough for you to nudge him back ahead of Bilal in their race? No. He said, more can poor Gilbert Burns? What more can the man do?
If he was going to go up, it'd be one place. And I think Bilal with the win streak.
That's all he needs. That's all he needs to get back.
He is there, though. He is there. It is like this chasm between, at middleweight, the chasm is the top 3, and at welterweight, it's the top 5. Like, there's no one's getting close to him. The top 6, sorry, I should say, including the champ.
Yeah, top 6 including the champ. So you got Burns, Muhammad, Chimaev if he stays around at this weight class, Covington, Usman, and Leon Edwards. Yeah, I just feel bad for Burns. I don't know. Bilal deserves to be in there. Can't deny him anymore either. Yeah. But it's kind of crazy that after a performance like that, the only change in the rankings is that Michael Chiesa overtakes Neil Magny for 12th.
What? Is that it?
That's
it.
Why
is Magny getting? Why is Magny getting murked like that? That's not fair.
I think Magny should be going down.
No,
after a loss like that.
No.
Colby versus Burns. Book it, Dano. Right. Jessica Andrade broke records in this fight against Lauren Murphy. Again, this is one of those where in boxing the ref just steps in. It's just like no. It's not. Why is it in MMA that we have to have this person can barely move thing? Why can't the guy just step and go like, you've had enough. This is enough. 231 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. Joe,
Women's fight.
Let me tell you why.
Why?
All right. At what point do you stop the fight? Because I'd seen enough, Joe, in the first minute to know how this fight was going. Because I'm sorry, Murphy just could not hurt Andrade. She couldn't get any respect. If anything, I thought Andrade was being too respectful. That's,
Well, you say that
slapping her about like she was. She could have brutalized her in even worse fashion.
I know.
She treated her like a top tier opponent, which the rankings say she should be, Joe. And so we do have to see. So we have to see something to stop the fight.
Can I just read to you the stats of the significant strikes? This is rounds 1 to 3. I'll start with Andrade and then Murphy. So Andrade 61 to 22 round 1, 75 to 29 round 2, and then round 3 95 to 49. Andrade said that she had to take some pep off her shots because she was hurting her hands. Like that was a mollywhopping. That was a true mollywhopping. Like it was.
So, I mean, it's those times when you wake up panicked in the night and you've been in some kind of fighting exchange, ready to go, only to find out that you've got pillow hands, and you can't do anything to stop the opponent. Yeah. That's what happened to Murphy. Except she's been training a whole career to get to this moment. It was Joe. It was shocking. She just could. It was like. I just don't know what more to say. No. Andrade did what she wanted.
She did.
She looked amazing. She looked phenomenal. But it all stemmed off the fact that Murphy offered zero threat.
For sure. Now, speaking of a threat, Johnny Walker knocked out Paul Craig in the first round. We were talking before we started the pod about Johnny Walker. This guy is such an athlete. That we were talking about, if we were his coach, it's just like, Johnny, mate, you just counter-strike. You wait for them to do something, and then you just do what you want. Like, he sort of throws a jab, you throw a spin kick. Just wait for him to move first, and then you find the opening from there. Because he throws a kick, Paul Craig catches the kick, and then on one leg, Walker just unloads shots onto Craig from there. I will say, though, Paul Craig did seem to be very content that he caught the leg and not much else, and probably should have... Am I just being unfair that Paul Craig maybe should have taken the leg and tree-topped him, sort of like lifted him up from there, get him off balance? Or do you think you had the window to do that?
Joe, I'm going to issue you a challenge right now. All right? I want you to go and take a plant pot from your room, and then Kirsten comes in and she smashes you on the head with a baseball bat, and you have to balance that plant pot and put it back on the table calmly with control and clear thinking, because Johnny Walker fucking whooped him, Joe. he absolutely, what a shot off one leg, straight right hand. Oh my god, turn the jaw on Craig. I'm not sure he knew what was going on with Johnny Walker's leg at that stage. I'm watching it now again, Joe, as we speak. It's hellacious. Ends up collapsing into the fence after taking that shot. He is, by the way, trying to treetop Walker, or trying to shuck him off balance after taking the shot. Collapses into the fence, leg still in hand, and wow, my god, that finish, Joe. That was devastating. Like, what do we call that? Those strikes.
The hammer fist.
The hammer fist. It's more like sledgehammer, Joe. It's coming from 6'6" in the air.
Yeah.
Straight down. It was just crazy knockout.
It is crazy. I'm watching it now as well. Like, he throws, what was it, the left kick? No, right, and then, oh god, it was instantaneous. Yeah, Craig had nothing he could do here. And then those shots are just, that is disgusting, isn't it? I've just never seen a finish like, I said before, we could be on for the funniest fight of the year immediately. Instead, we got the funniest finish of the year. Or at least, I don't know if it was funny, but whatever. Anyway, listeners, let's go through our predictions, what we had for last week.
Joe, they don't want to hear that.
So we both predicted a Johnny Walker. We both predicted a Johnny Walker knockout. I predicted Andrade knockout. You went Andrade decision.
4 points for me so far.
Yep. Then Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny. I had a Burns sub. You had a Burns decision. Both picked Figueiredo, and then I picked Jamhal Hill by knockout. You got the decision win. So I sneak it by a point. I won.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. Stop the press here.
You had. Yeah.
You get the 1 point.
I get 1 point for Andrade. You get 2. I get 2 points for Burns. You get 1. So it levels out there. And then Jamhal Hill sneaks it for me by a point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wait, hold on. Did I pick that? Did I pick the Andrade decision? I don't remember.
I think you had Murphy, Joe.
I did not. No, I had Andrade's decision. I had an Andrade decision.
Joe, my conclusion for this is all mired in controversy. Not in a fit state to award the belt this time. It returns to the lineal champ.
No, I'm the champ. I just won. Like, that's fine. I had Andrade's decision. I just checked the notes. Thank you very much. I'm the champ. Booyah. All right? That's what you get for messing around with me. Now, let's talk about the prelims. Let's talk about the brothers. The Bonfim brothers. I'm going to ask you, Tom, which finish did you like more? Gabriel Bonfim's mounted guillotine or Ishmael Bonfim's flying knee to Terence McKinney? Which one did you prefer?
I mean, of course, the mounted guillotine came so early in the fight, and it was reactive to the situation. So I think you've got to credit that for the skill involved there and the result in that he took no damage against Munir Aziz, who, can be a threat.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick the Ismail Bonfim knockout for the spectacular nature of it against Terence McKinney, a man with quite a few highlights to his own name. That was a real, a real welcome to the UFC, welcome to the big time for both of these guys.
Yeah. That flying knee was superb. It was set up really well. McKinney kept reacting to Bonfim, and Bonfim was just able to read him from there. It was like anytime McKinney threw, Bonfim would just blitz him. Normally with like a left straight over the top of McKinney's jab. And then that flying knee, just no setup to it either. No sort of feint, and just sort of threw it from there. He had absolute confidence in his striking and really did batter McKinney. I also want to talk about Bruno Ferreira defeating our boy Gregory Rodriguez. Sad that Rodriguez lost, obviously. But let's talk about this finish. A counter left hook where Ferreira sort of did this shoulder roll strike feint with the left. Same thing with the right. And then the same movement again. At which point Rodriguez is thinking this is a feint. And Ferreira threw a monstrous left hook that Rodriguez just did not see. Clean shot. Done. Rodriguez knocked out.
Yeah, it was one of those just on the button, the off button, to be precise, because Rodriguez was totally out. Big shot, but not. I've seen Gregory take bigger shots, and keep marching forwards. But I think, as you say, it was the kind of disguised nature. He just really didn't see it coming, and right on the chin. Yeah, great show for Ferreira. Congratulations. You're gonna get another fight. Doesn't do too much for my love for RoboCop, so
no.
All right with that, Joe. I mean, looking down these prelims, they were great. If you haven't seen them yet, listeners, you should give it time.
Can we talk about something sad first, though, before we get on to the good stuff? Let's talk about Shogun Rua retiring. I mean, 5 years too late. Against this Teixeira, is that how you say his name? I forgot how to say his name. He's pissed off a lot of people, though, with his dancing after knocking out Shogun in his retirement fight. Shogun then retires.
Tone deaf.
Yeah, very tone deaf. You'll get another win, mate. You don't need to do this right now. You can do your crap dancing another time. Shogun retires. A legend. A true legend of the sport. And, but, listen, mate, you took one too many. Really did one too many. And kind of wish there was a nice veteran that he could have, gone out on. It's almost as if he did have that fight a year or two ago against Little Nog, but decided he wanted another. But let's talk about something great here, Tom. Jailton Almeida defeats Shamil Abdurakhimov. I described it as a boa constrictor. What animal are you going to use as your description for this performance?
I think that's just a fantastic comparison, Joe, because it was suffocating. It was like gradual, calculated, draining the opponent. Every advance was getting just that little bit further. He just drowned Abdurakhimov, slowly and efficiently. Abdurakhimov showed some proficiency in trying to fight from being on the mat in the first round. He showed some awareness to get out of positions that would later prove to be oh so dangerous, but ultimately it sapped him of that little bit of explosion, that little bit of energy that he would need later in the fight, and Jailton just drowned him, Joe.
Yeah, I think Almeida as well. I've said it before. I want him to just have that run at light heavyweight before fully committing to heavyweight. I think he's a real menace for that division, and I would give him a ranked guy right now. Give him a top 10 guy right now at light heavyweight. I think he's that good.
I guess my only thoughts there, Joe, are that the fighters at light heavyweight are more well-rounded than the fights at heavyweight.
Yeah, that's what I want to see, though. I want to see him against these guys.
So what you're saying is, are you saying that he's got heavyweight locked up, but first he should have a go at light heavyweight? Is that?
I think have a go at light heavyweight. That's the bigger challenge right now. Don't settle into heavyweight just yet, because that cut down to light heavyweight will become more difficult. I would take that run at light heavy before, because he can clearly win at heavyweight. I mean, Abdurakhimov is a bigger man than him, and he ragdolled him. It wasn't competitive in the slightest. So yeah, I would do that. Now, Tom, tell me about Josiane Nunes versus Zara Fine. Tell me about this fight. Because you messaged me and you said, you have to watch this, Joe.
Yes. It's not my usual Saturday night viewing, but it was what was in front of me, and I wanted to watch some UFC. So, yeah, we had Nunes, who's fighting at women's featherweight. She is 5'2".
Yeah. So
that is, for our European brothers out there, it's maybe 155, something like that.
Yeah.
Fighting in the same division that we had Megan Anderson.
Yeah.
6 foot, 183.
Yeah.
So she's given up a lot, Joe, to fight in that weight class. in terms of range and reach. And she met a woman in Zara Fine dos Santos, I believe a kickboxer, certainly a boxer. Didn't do the research, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And much taller woman, 5'8", and you had to watch it because it was just you could see the limitations of the division. Let's just say that it was extremely frustrating to watch. They were both Nunes spent most of her fight just standing in range, not in the pocket, but in Santos's kicking range, which Santos exploited beautifully in the first round to throw kicks. But as she started to tire, Nunes would occasionally just come charging in with what I can only describe as Superman double jab. So you have to picture this, Joe. Both fists are flying forwards at the same motion at the same time, and she's running.
Yeah.
Now that was too much for Fern, Joe. I'll tell you now. Spoiler: that beat Dos Santos, Sarah Fern.
She
silly fight, but fun.
I was watching it, and Kirsten, my partner, was sat next to me, and she was watching it as well. And she went "Oh, that little one's very feisty, isn't she?" And it's just yeah, that's definitely a way to describe that. A lot of really slapping hooks and whatnot. It was a lot of winging shots, and then someone going backwards, going "Oh, get off me! Leave me alone." That was the main feeling of this. Anything else from the prelims, or are we good to move on? Oh, Thiago Moises with a really good finish of Melquizel Costa. Moises just showed that he's class, basically.
Yeah. I'd like to see Costa again, though.
Yeah,
you didn't disgrace yourself, son.
And Daniel Marcos with a great finish over Simon Oliveira to open the card. Knees to the body, crumpled him, got the finish from there.
14-0 at bantamweight, Joe. Just bantamweight things.
Man, yeah. Just get any. Hold on. Let me come up with a bantamweight that he could fight, and you tell me yes or no. Okay. How about I don't know, Javid Basharat?
Oh, I mean, what's Basharat's record, Joe? He's coming
2-0.
up for 16. Well, in the UFC, sure, but
13-0.
They're just 13-0. They're just everywhere. It's hard to find someone who's not beaten, and these are the guys outside the rankings again.
Victor Henry.
Victor Henry, yeah, he's come up against some challenges now. I mean, I don't like to see guys with clean records getting faced off outside the rankings. I think that's a shame.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's it. That's the card wrapped up. Good card, fun card.
Great card.
Yeah, it was
great card. I mean, the Bonfim brothers, Joe, they're the biggest excitement for me coming out of this.
Not Hill.
Well, that's wrapped up in the sadness of seeing Glover go and the absence of super tantalising matchup right around the corner. For me, these Bonfim boys coming in. We got 19-3 Ishmael, I believe the older brother, and then the younger brother. The older brother is Gabriel's the younger. He's the younger brother, and 14-0. I don't know. You got double assault, 2 weight classes, lightweight and welterweight, both with amazing introductions to the UFC. I'm excited to see where these guys can go.
Good. Well, we've spoken about something positive, so let's talk about something horrible. I'll read the quote from the headline and then we'll go through it. He would have killed me. Conor McGregor accused of assaulting woman on private yacht. Now, it's a mad story that a party was happening on a private yacht for Conor's birthday party last year. And this woman is alleging that Conor assaulted her to the point where she had to jump off of the boat into the water and then be saved by the Coast Guard in Ibiza. They had to pick her up in a different boat and take her away from there. And naturally, as is the case with all these things, you got people going she's a liar, she's trying to get this, she's trying to get that. I'm sorry to say that with Conor, it's piling up, these stories. There's more and more. There's still 2 ongoing rape investigations in Ireland at the moment, as was reported in the New York Times. Why? It's just gotten to the point now with him of it's almost not surprising anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh well, Conor's involved in another ridiculous, crazy thing. You know, he had this incident with the woman, the incident with the fan, with the phone where he broke the phone. He had the old man at the pub that he assaulted. The referee, when he jumped into the cage with the referee. It's always him. It's always him. And I know that people can reform, and I know that people can do this, but there is never any contrition shown on his end at all. It's just horrible, isn't it? You know, it's how many other athletes really get this many incidents?
Well, John Jones springs to mind, but it's the fact that he seems to almost go untainted by these things. People still want to see him come out and potentially coach on Tough. They still want to see matchups for Conor. I don't.
You're not bothered about seeing him again.
I don't want to see him. I will watch, Joe. I'm not going to try to tell you.
Him versus Michael Chandler. You're going to watch that.
Yeah.
Him versus Michael. This is the thing. They've obviously now posted the thing about him being on coaching on The Ultimate Fighter because gets him back out there. He can do some of his funny lines. He can talk a bit of crap, and everyone's just like, "Oh, the old Conor's back," and it's him versus Chandler, and Chandler's going to be a bit corny and nerdy, so it's going to make Conor look even more cool and brutal with his lines and yada yada yada.
Does he have that? Does he still have that? I don't know. I feel
that
like
last press conference with Poirier, he got smoked verbally by Poirier as well, and Poirier's no shit talker. Like, he's not a great promo.
I mean, he's diminished, the man. It's clearly substance abuse, I think, is taking a toll.
For sure. Definitely.
Don't be like Conor McGregor.
No. Let's talk about something else that's terrible. Power Slap League. The pay came out for this. Did you see this?
I did, Joe. I saw 2 and 2.
2 to show and an extra 2 if you win. Progressively more as you go further in it. Eric Spicely was offered a slot on it, former UFC fighter. Turned it down when he saw what the pay was. I mean, this is just risible, isn't it? 2 and 2. Like, really, this is just bleak and depressing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment so much on the pay because for me, this stands against what I love about MMA, what I love about the sport, combat sports. It's indefensible. You know, it's pay for pure punishment. There's no skill element.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really against it. It's not some beautiful science. There's
no game plan.
It's just being beaten for money. It's sick, Joe. It's sick. It's sick.
Yeah,
I watched
really 10 minutes to the first episode, and it's just dreadful. Like, it's absolutely dreadful. Like, Dana's been desperate to get another thing going. He had the surfing show that obviously went nowhere. He had the boxing one that didn't go anywhere. And now this is the only one, and the viewership is terrible as well. Yeah, awful. Should we wrap it up there, or should I talk about the thing I mentioned before the pod?
Yeah, I know there's something you wanted to get off your chest that's been bothering you.
It has.
Before you end on that one, though, Joe, I do have one fight announcement, one bit of good news. Can't have people just on a 10-minute downer here. All right, where do you go for good news? You go to bantamweight. It's a fight announcement, Joe.
Go on.
Has it slipped past your radar?
What?
We have got a banger. We got rank number 8, Song Yadong. He's going to fight Ricky Simone.
Oh, man. Man, Song just takes the punishment, doesn't he? My God.
Non-stop. And for Ricky Simone, of course, it's a chance to get that kind of loss that he had to Faber. You remember that?
Yeah.
In some parallel universe, Uriah Faber knocked out Ricky Simone. Well, now the prodigal son, Song Yadong, Ricky Simone's going to get a chance against him. That's April 22nd. Great fight.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I had not seen that news. That is tremendous. Oh, I'm so happy.
I could see you need to pick me up, Joe, because I know you're going to take us into a dark side.
Yeah, this is... So, I am a fan of professional wrestling, and I have been for a long time. And last week, a pro wrestler died, and it wasn't what you're expecting of steroids or whatever else. This guy, Jay Briscoe, was his working name, died in a car crash after a woman pulled across a couple lanes of traffic, crashed into a car and killed him. 38 years old. He was a tremendous wrestler, great tag team wrestler, great singles wrestler. But maybe what came out most after his death was people going through his old promos, and he was a tremendous, tremendous promo. And he wrestled in Ring of Honor, which is a sort of indie promotion, slightly, not quite on the level of like a WWE or an AEW. Ring of Honor is owned by Tony Khan. Tony Khan also owns AEW Pro Wrestling. And about 10 years ago, Jay Briscoe posted on Twitter homophobic remarks, really quite horrible homophobic remarks. And he deleted them. And he apologised for them. And he spent the last 10 years trying to build bridges, donating to charities, doing work with charities to show his remorse and his contrition. And when he died, a lot of people were waiting to see what the LGBTQ pro wrestlers were going to say about Jay Briscoe, because it was just like, if they're all silent, like, well, maybe this guy was just a fake. And they all said this guy was so apologetic, showed such contrition, and wanted us to know that that was not who he was, and that he didn't want people to come to work feeling like they were going to be getting hate, because that's not who he is. And he did this for 10 years, and he was denied spots in WWE and in AEW because of this. He died, and TNT said to AEW, you cannot put a tribute, you cannot do a tribute to Jay Briscoe on this show because of what he said 10 years ago. And after the latest episode of AEW Dynamite finished, Power Slap comes on, and Dana White is on there saying, sometimes you really just need to slap someone. Sometimes you just really get the urge to really slap someone. And it really disgusted me. Truly disgusted me. Because I have to ask the question, at what point do we accept a person's apology? How long does someone have to apologise for? Do we just punish people for not showing enough of the correct contrition for these incidents?
Joe, I think you've got the answer for you there. In the case of Dana White, I think it's just New Year's Day. So we're talking about 26 days out from slapping his partner. And he's promoting a power slap show in which he makes those remarks that sometimes you just really need to hit people. So yeah, it's for me, it's the juxtaposition between the two that's particularly jarring. I mean, in the case of Jay Briscoe, probably the man had earned the right to be forgotten. Yeah. And Dana White acquired that right, it would seem, in much shorter time. So it shows about power and politics and
money.
That's the thing that we condemn.
And the money that he can supposedly make them. Also saying that the viewership for this Power Slap is terrible. Sub 200,000 people watching it. This is not something that they're going to miss. Like, if it's not there. Anyway, I feel anyway. It was just bugging me for the last week or so, and I just wanted to get that off my chest. And I felt like this was a good venue to do that, because there is a link to the sport of MMA. And you should go out there, if you are a fan of pro wrestling and you don't know much about Jay Briscoe, go watch his work. Tremendous. His tag team with his brother Mark, it's great, and his promos are superb. I might play a promo of his at the end, because just to get a vibe of him. Man was a one-off. Really was. Anyway, listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week. He's back, brother. The Spiv is back. Sergey Spivak is back, and he's facing Derek Lewis at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Boys.
1 o'clock in the morning, because it was supposed to be the Korean Zombie main event, and they've got a bunch of Korean fighters on the card, so they're going to keep it at that time for the Korean audience. Not because they love the Spivak. We love the Spiv. Oh man, can't wait for this. He faces Derek Lewis. I haven't even said who he's facing. He's facing the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. We'll be back next week to preview that card, break down the latest news, fight announcements. Tom, thank you so much for joining me.
Yep, thanks, Joe, and congratulations.
On
your transition to becoming a champion.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not used to it. Yes, I am the champ. And I will reign supreme for at least 4 weeks. So, listeners, thank you so much. You can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week. Goodbye,
Thanks,
listeners.
everybody.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me tell y'all why we don't like Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. You see, the majority of pro wrestling fans look at tag teams from Monday night. You know, they put them up on this pedestal just because they was on Monday Night Raw. Briscoes ain't never been on there. They must be down here. World's greatest tag team, hooray! Monday Night Raw, my ass. That's the #1 reason why we don't like Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, because people, the average wrestling fan, the majority of wrestling fans, not all of them, but the majority of wrestling fans put them above the Briscoes by default. Now let me tell y'all a story. About 2 years ago, about 2 years, was it? Two and a half years ago, we had a little trial match for WWE. It was before a SmackDown taping in Philadelphia. We went in there, had a little tryout, you know, did our thing, whatever. I guess they was impressed because they invited us down to Florida for a week at their little FCW developmental center.
All expenses paid.
All expenses paid in the Hyatt, chilling. But either way, we was down there, you know, had a little trial. We was down there for a week. I thought things went good.
And that's what they said too.
We thought it went real good down there. Then everybody was telling us, yeah, y'all doing real good. Y'all might get these contracts. This was 2 years ago. I'm just seeing dollar signs. They talking about y'all might get these contracts. So, you know, we're waiting around. We get back home, we waiting. I'm telling all my boys, like, yeah, we did it down there. We getting ready to all be eating. It's gonna be on our tag. We done did it down there, boys. You know, we hype. I'm telling my wife she ain't never gonna have work again. You know, she can quit bartending. We got this. You know, so we wait, a month go by, another couple months, we get a phone call. Apparently, the Briscoes are not cosmetically pleasing enough for the WWE. That exact words.
Come on now.
Exact words. Cosmetically pleasing. Well, excuse me, Mr. John Laurinaitis, I forgot this was a damn beauty contest. Cosmetically pleasing my ass.
Preach, brother.
And the thing that got me, man, the boys down in developmental, I mean, yeah, you got some good ones, of course. Mainly the people from ROH, but the majority of them weren't even really that nice. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, they come right out of modeling school, right off of the Tough Man contest where they show their little muscles and shit. They walk right into developmental, sign a little deal, you know, train in developmental for a few months. The next thing you know, they're on TV, they're millionaires.
Hey, what happened to paying your dues, brother?
What the hell happened to paying your dues?
What happened to paying your dues?
You know, we broke in old school about 12 years ago. For y'all young boys, about 12 years ago, I remember setting up the chairs, setting up the ring before the show, a bullshit indie show that's gonna be about 40 people there, and I'd be hype as a bitch. You remember that, setting up them chairs?
And getting cussed out because we ain't set them up straight enough.
Well, yeah, getting the ring ready and everything, hype, getting ready to wrestle in front of 40 people. Y'all have no idea what that's like. Y'all can't even relate to that. Back in the day, coming up through the indies, grinding your way up. But no, we're not cosmetically pleasing enough to get paid. I guess that's what they're trying to tell us. That's what they're trying to tell us. Charlie Haas, I guess you spent a couple weeks on the indies, grinding your way through. Shit, Shelton Benjamin, you the main kind of type of dude we talking about.
How many rings you done set up now, Shelton?
How many rings you set up, Shelton?
How many rows of chairs you done put out there, Shelton?
If final battle, if this show, Friday night final battle, depended on Shelton Benjamin setting up the ring and setting up all the chairs, it wouldn't be no show. It won't be no damn show because he don't know what the hell he doing. He ain't paid his damn dues in my book. In our book, he ain't paid his dues. Go fight live people, be sitting there like,
man, I don't know.
I don't know.
They
don't know what the hell to do. If Shelton Benjamin, if we depended on that bitch to get this show ready. But see, that's what you do as a pro wrestler. As a pro wrestler, that's what the hell you do. But y'all can't relate to that. Y'all millionaires, man. We get up every single day, go to work, support the kids, support the wife. Every single day, man. We don't get sit down on the beach in Tampa, hold our balls, get a suntan. and then do a little show. Next thing you know, we called up, we millionaires, and they like that for us. We're not cosmetically pleasing enough for that shit. Y'all had no idea, man. Looking at foreclosures and shit. I'm getting ready to get foreclosed on. At least that's what they say, but I'm gonna make it through. Trust me, I'm a grinder, baby.
You ain't gotta worry about that. You ain't got to worry about though. You ain't got to worry about that though, big money. You know, you need a little knee surgery. You spring your pinky finger or something. That's on Vinnie Mac to have.
Yeah, Vinnie covered that.
Shoot, I'm still paying off my bills from Detroit. Look it up.
Yeah, Detroit. WrestleMania weekend, a few years back. Look that up. Look that up.
I'm paying that for the rest of my life.
Hey, but that's all right. Hey, back to the topic though. Shelton Benjamin, you got an easy ride, boy. In our eyes, that's why your ribs taped up. Charlie Haas, you ain't much better either. That's why your ribs taped up, Shelton Benjamin, on some David Otunga shit. Jennifer Hudson, my ass. You look better when you was fat, bitch. Shit. But back to the topic. This Friday night, you can look at it however you want to. You can look at it as WWE versus ROH. You can look at it as sports entertainment versus pro wrestling. You can look at it as complacent, satisfied, rich people versus hungry, still coming at your ass, poor people that don't give a shit because we still coming.
It ain't got nothing to lose.
Bottom line is, it's the world's greatest tag team versus them boys. And I don't like to say, I don't like to use the term biggest match of our career, but never in the 12 years that we've been doing this shit have we had so much to prove. The belts don't be nothing. It's gonna be 7 times regardless. Charlie Haas, Shelton Benjamin. This Friday night, we got to prove a point, boys.